1. I once had a friend. Our friendship lasted 4 years, and he was also a groupmate of mine on a big project. On that project, our teacher asked us to collaborate. We planned to work at his apartment because he doesn't want to do it at my house. His mother used to live with him, and before she decided to buy a new house, his apartment was neat, clean, and smelled good. He did not, however, accompany her because he desired to be alone with a cat. Naturally, his mother agreed because she enjoys spoiling him. I finally got to see his apartment, where I used to help him with assignments and study with him after being locked up for 2 years because of the pandemic. He was embarrassed to have a dirty apartment at first. It wasn't until my 4th visit that he realized that our school project was due next month. As soon as I opened the door, I could smell his cat's urine and saw that his entire apartment was littered with trash and clothes covered in cat poop. I thought he was depressed, so I didn't bother to say anything. His apartment remains like a dump 2 days later. I informed him that animal feces is harmful to both his health and the cat, and that I couldn't take it any longer. He then said, "Oh, I thought you wouldn't mind because you didn't judge me before for having a messy room." I said that yes, I did because I thought he might be depressed, and he became enraged and started shouting, "Why don't you clean it? Let's be fair, you almost seem to live here because you visit so frequently. How about I work in half the project and you do housework?" I was offended, but I didn't mind in the least because it could be that he was having a hard time. I started helping him by cleaning his apartment because I was worried about his health, his cat, and most importantly, his mental health. Because I was given a diagnosis of depression and anxiety, I understand how it feels and it sucks. Not until the project's due date, which is next week. His house is like that every time I visit. The floor was covered in animal feces, dirty dishes, clothes, and trash everywhere, and I would also clean after his mess. When I asked him to show me his work for our project on my 3rd and 4th clean, he would always reply, "I'll only show you if you're finished." And I was started to doubt him because I didn't see him working on it and instead was only playing online games. We were supposed to eat lunch together at that time, but he refused to eat the neighbor's food and threw it at the neighbor's door out of resentment. His mother hired the neighbor to cook for him because he doesn't know how to cook that much and would just order unhealthy food online. I understand how his mother feels and she was worried about his health. I was so done that I got mad at him and told him to just give me his work for our project. When the motherfucker handed it over, you could clearly see that he had just copied and pasted it from the internet without making much of an effort. I was furious, but I kept my cool and simply left his apartment. To be honest, I'm not sure if this qualifies as revenge, but I needed him to get his act together. So I started contacting my best friend, who was his crush, and asked for help with our project. After that, she asked where we should meet, and after waiting for 3 days, I finally asked her to meet at the address I gave her. We knocked. He opened the door in a state of panic, because I knew from the beginning that she was his weakness. He was about to ask us politely that we would wait outside, but it was too late. He had no choice. He let us in, and nothing in his apartment had changed. He started cleaning and assisting us with the project out of embarrassment. I've been friends with her for so many years, I can literally say what she's thinking, like we're talking to each other through telepathy. This is a complete turnoff for my best friend. I already warned her about him because he's a big red flag. I don't want to talk about everything about him, but he's definitely a big red flag. Well, if he changes for the better, I might help him again, but he doesn't even listen to us. He then asked his mother for a maid that will work for him. I was relieved. I could now work in our school project without worrying about a bad smell in a dirty workspace. Then he began yelling at the maid because of a small mistake. I didn't want to get involved until he started talking negatively about her, cursing and wishing she would be jobless for the rest of her life. I joined, and there I confronted him. I called my best friend once again. After I got home, I needed her help. He was so kind to his maid after, and the second time I brought my best friend to his apartment. He was not a brat. He asked me why I was laughing, to which I replied sarcastically, "What did you eat that you stopped yelling at your maid?" I can hear the maid laughing as she was washing the dishes. He became enraged and felt embarrassed. My best friend glared at him for a very long time after, understanding what I was saying. He started texting me when I got home, swearing at me, wishing I would die, and asking me not to come to his apartment anymore because my best friend had confronted, blocked, and dumped him. He blamed me for ruining his love life. Hell yes, indeed, I agreed. Well, I've had enough of him anyway, and I just waited until we finished our school project so I could mess with him. We did well in our school project. Thanks to my best friend's presence, without her, he would have failed. After the task, he requested to swap partners, and I've got no problem with that. I'm even happy with that choice. Good luck to his new partner. 2. I am a grocery store cashier for a very small chain in southeastern Michigan. For 6 hours a day, 4 days a week, I ring order after order of groceries. Believe me, it gets monotonous. About a week or two ago, it was a super busy day. I've been going non-stop for 2 hours with no time between customers. That's when, during the short 5-minute lull that miraculously arrived, Karen came along. I went through my usual spiel, "Hi, how are you, paper or plastic?" etc., and started ringing her groceries. She had lots of fruits and veggies, which is cool, better than some of the things I have to ring. Don't ask. Seriously. And then came the grapes. Now don't get me wrong, I love grapes, sweet, crunchy, tart, and they don't really require any prep before you eat them. Yum. No, my issue was with the large spider that was in the bag with the grapes. I have a serious spider phobia. When I was a kid, a spider, no idea which kind, we were on a family biking trip through a nearby nature trail when it happened, bit me on the arm, and over the course of a few days my parents just thought it was a mosquito bite. It swelled up into a big hard lump the size of a softball. I still vividly remember the night they finally realized they needed to take action and rushed me to the nearest hospital. Traumatizing. Ever since, I can't see a spider without shrieking and freezing up. Any other bug in the house? No problem, I see a spider. One of my brothers has to come rescue me. So as you can imagine, the large bag of grapes spider did not go over well. I managed to mostly quell the shriek, instead letting out a strangled yelp, and jolted back from the register and offending bag, and refused to touch it again until the spider was very dead. My grocery store is one of those that still has a separate bagger job, so I wasn't alone at the register. The very nice kid who was my current bagger was kind enough to come around, remove the spider-infested sack of fruit, and went to get Karen a new bag. I apologized and started to scan again. As soon as he left, the ridicule began.
"It was just a spider, why did you freak out? Are you seriously telling me that a grown-ass woman has to have a teenage boy rescue her from an itsy-bitsy spider? How pathetic, just get over it, it's the size of a pea at best. I carried that bag all the way over here. I'm scared of spiders and I was just fine. You shouldn't have an issue swiping it and moving on for 5 seconds.
And so on and so forth. Meanwhile, I just had to sit there and smile at her. As soon as he came back, she shut up, and with smiles and compliments for such a nice young man, that was when I decided to get petty. Now in my store, produce is rung one of 2 ways. It might be the same elsewhere, I don't know, but anyway, it's either rung up by count or by weight. So we have a scale built into the register to weigh items. Grapes are priced weight, so I went ahead and dropped a nice new spider-free bag on the scale. And while I typed in the produce code, I made sure to ever so stealthily place my thumb on that scale and apply the slightest bit of pressure, magically turning 2 pounds 7 ounce into 4 pounds 2 ounce. At $3.99 per pound, it made a difference. Mind you, Karen had a huge order, so that 1 pound 7 ounce didn't that noticeably affect the total. But if Karen was going to mock me like that, then turn around like she'd done nothing wrong and praise my coworker, she was going to have to pay for it. And pay for it she did. I would like to note that I was very grateful for my bagger's help, and I wasn't upset over the fact that he was praised. As I did my fair share of it after she left, it was the two-faced nature of the mockery, then praise, that caused my frustration. 3. Settle in, I'm slightly pedantic and I can't help it. So I got nearly $32 in free Pizza Hut. But that's not the malicious compliance. I'm sharing this experience with you because they denied my request to put my free reward in a different pan and the ingredients on top of each other in a different order. I'd had questions, but they turned around instead and told me to go order it online. I complied. It's up to you if I'm being malicious. I'm sharing with you exactly how I did it. Tonight I went into Pizza Hut, and I had some of the Hut rewards to cash in. About 9 times points, which qualified for free breadsticks or cheese sticks at 75 points redemption. I wanted a personal pan pizza, which is the exact same ingredients, but just in a round-shaped pan, placed in a different order. It actually required less ingredients than I would get with cheese sticks. Seemed like a very reasonable request. So I decided to go into the restaurant and ask them if I redeemed the cheese sticks with my name online, could they instead make it a cheese personal pan pizza? I even said, you know it's less ingredients, you're just putting them in a different pan in a different order. They weren't busy. So I asked the kid at the counter, and he said, yeah, that shouldn't be a problem, but let me ask my manager. Well, the manager said no. The item had to be redeemed, according to them, for the item that you chose. The kid followed up with, you have to redeem your points online, not here in the store. Yeah, I know, but I thought he could make sure I was redeeming it properly. But he turned away from me, then started to busy himself doing nothing. I went to my car. As I walk back to my car, I hit redeem on the Hut rewards for the cheese sticks. Nothing pops up, no change in the page. I assumed I would have to go to the previous or new page or something like that. So I hit redeem again. Nothing happened. Now thinking maybe I had a bad signal, which I'd had in that area before, I hit redeem again, then once more. Fearing I'm going to lose my redeemed points, I hit the back button. It takes me back to the main rewards page with all the options for redemption and locked rewards. My account balance of 9 times points was still there. Good, so I didn't lose them as I thought I would have. I see in my cart I have 1 item, so I click the cart and proceed with the checkout. Doing so caused these cheese sticks to repeat 4 times on the order page. I'm not certain, but I remember seeing something odd and I just didn't think anything of it, because I don't really pay attention to those pages. I picked contactless delivery because I didn't want to go into the store again. They had to bring it to my car. A different guy, the delivery guy, comes to my window and he's holding 4 boxes of food, and I was like, I just ordered 1. I thought this was weird because the person that made the food would have been the person I spoke with earlier. He saw my points balance when I was making the request to him, and I figured he would know that I didn't have the ability to get 4 free cheese stick orders. But he went ahead and made them anyways. He must have thought this was weird before handing it off to the delivery guy. Or maybe I'm giving him too much credit by assuming he'd think that deeply about any of this. I was handed the receipt and the delivery guy said, nope, the order says 4 orders of cheese sticks. Okay then. The receipt does say 4 orders of cheese sticks. The total is $31.96. The coupon was applied 4 times and equaled $31.96, making a 0 balance. I checked my appointments, and I had like 19 points available now. Those orders shouldn't have gone through, but they did. I believe that when I clicked on the redeem button 4 times, then back to my cart, without doing anything else, it caused a little glitch in the programming. Which meant that that item, no matter how many times I pressed redeem, was free. I don't have any more points to try this again, though. Maybe it would work for you, but of course, we accept no responsibility if it doesn't. Maybe next time they'll wait and see if I have any more questions before shutting me out. Or they could have just placed the ingredients in a different pan and in a different order. It wouldn't have left me with the desire to share with a great many people how to get a shit ton of free Pizza Hut. Or maybe it was a little glitch that they fixed now. 4. I'm a 21-year-old female, and I was invited to a trip by a girl I was friendly with. Her name is Amy. She was very beautiful and popular and had lots of connections to promoters, so naturally she had minions around her. I agreed to go mostly because I was friends with a few of the guys that are going. The main problem was, at the time I was underage and knew they wanted to go to bars and clubs, etc. I told them I didn't have a fake, and don't see the point in going if I can't join in. The guys said, don't worry, some of us don't have fakes either, and we just want to explore and relax. And Amy said not to worry since her promoters don't care and will let us walk in. Eventually I agreed, and all was well. A few days before the trip, one of the guys had to reschedule, and the other guys decided to as well, since he was the main bridge between girls and boys. They decided to go 2 days after the girls would leave. At this point, I was getting concerned, since I didn't really know Amy, and they want to go clubbing a lot. I asked about fakes again, and once again they said, no, don't worry, some of us are underage too, and no one cares because we're girls. As someone who never went to these places, I was inclined to believe her. When we went into the hotel room, I realized I would have to share a bed with 3 other girls like sardines. Okay, whatever, I guess. We went out, and everything was okay until it was time to go party. As we were getting ready, Amy came up to me and told me that unfortunately the promoter said he won't be able to sneak me in. I was super bummed, but what could I do? Ask them to stay? I spent the whole night alone in the hotel, while they were out partying and having the time of their life as documented by their Instagram stories. The second night, same thing happened. At this point I was like, why can't I just tip the bouncer like $50 to get in? Which they said that in this city would have to be like $300, so it won't work. The minions felt bad for me, but no one said anything because they didn't want to get on Amy's bad side. At this point I was like, whatever, I'm just going to enjoy myself and have a mini spa night. An hour or so later, they came back to the room looking a bit agitated and started dressing up for a different event. I asked what happened, and they said the bouncer gave them trouble because he saw one of the girls had a fake. I asked if they were kicked out, to which they replied they gave him $20 and were now going to a different place. This got me pissed off because I could have been out there as well. At this point, the guys reached out to me and asked if I even went with them, since I was not in any of their selfies or stories, so I told them what happened. On the morning of the third day, I asked what the plan was, and they said they got invited to a yacht party. I asked if that plan included me, and they said that unfortunately it's a private party. I got my stuff and left to explore the city by myself. During that period of my life, I was extremely self-conscious because I had Middle Eastern features. I was not ugly, but didn't really fit the clubbing beauty standards. I started to feel like they just didn't want someone like me around, but didn't understand why they would even invite me in the first place. I realized that I was probably to make the trip cheaper for them, since they would split it 5 ways instead of 4. They had no intention of including me in anything. I was basically a duff. Funny, since a few years later I looked hotter than all of them combined. Now, I am not the type of person to start yelling or trying to make them apologize. They don't give a shit, and me throwing a fit won't make them gain empathy. Instead, I decided to even out the damages. The guys invited me to go with them, so I got an early airplane ticket back, because it was cheaper than staying in the city for several more days. Before I left, I filled up all the water bottles with toilet water, put loose powder in their ketamine, and tiny pebbles and chips under their bed sheets. As I was packing to leave, after they told me I could still stay for the beach, Amy started drinking the water and commented how it tastes like pool water. I was like, yeah, I noticed that too. Left and unfollowed them on all social media. A few weeks later, Amy texted me asking if I'm interested in her old fake. I swear these people have no emotional intelligence since they grew up with everyone kissing their ass for the connections, or just to be seen near a pretty girl. When I came back with the guys, we had a lot of fun exploring and trying out new places. I now live in that city and have to frequently decline invitations to yacht parties and clubs because I socialize too much for my own good. They are still in my old town, looking like they aged 20 years from the drug use. 5. 10-ish years ago, when I, a 25-year-old male, was still in high school, I was part of a youth development organization. In some of our weekend camps, in conjunction with other units, I had developed one hell of a crush on a girl a year younger than me from the neighboring unit. Of course, I wasn't the only one, and while I made my move and made good progress with her over the following months, I wasn't the lucky one in the end. My competition Jake was from her unit, so he had the advantage of having more regular in-person contact with her. They were together a couple of weeks until she decided that Jake wasn't the right fit for her and split with him. As much as I was sympathetic to her for the breakup, I took this as the perfect opportunity to make my move. Think what you will of me for that. I was young and dumb and took my chance. It worked, and less than 2 weeks later we were together, and not being shameful about it. You, Jake, setting in motion actions to trigger my revenge. The youth organization had yearly camps where other teens from units all over the country would get to meet in a central location for a whole week, conducting activities and building skills, teamwork, and inter-unit relations. One of these camps happened a week after my crush and I got together, and of course we signed up for all the same classes together. So did Jake, and this exposed to him how better as a couple she and I were compared to him and her. Apparently he didn't like that one bit, and on the final night of the week-long camp, which was a party night, he went spreading rumors about how I'd been talking shit behind her back, and I was calling her ugly. He said I was being with her out of pity. I'd forwarded intimate posts of her, of which she never sent me in the first place. Hold on to that for later. Generally really hateful rumor-mongering. She of course heard these rumors herself and came to me crying, calling me all sorts of names, and left with her friends all giving me dirty looks. Being a young, dumb teen at the time, I had no idea what was going on, and I didn't suspect foul play, as at the time Jake and I were good mates. A day later, on the ride back home, I tried to message her to discuss the previous night. Accusations flew, we had a big fight, and I ended the conversation angrily, saying I was fine with never seeing her again, told her to enjoy life without me. Think what you will of me for that. Cue her and I finding out that we had been played. Later that day, the guilt for being an asshole to her set in, and I messaged her again apologizing for my words and not being supportive enough when she came to me crying, explaining that I had no idea what was going on or what I had done to trigger her being upset with me. She finally comes out and tells me that she had heard from multiple people the rumors against me. Now I finally had an idea of what happened the previous night. I told her how much she meant to me, and that I would never do anything to compromise our relationship. We then started contacting the rumor spreaders together, putting together the pieces, and all accounts led back to one person, Jake. The revenge came during the fact-finding. As Crush and I were going back through everyone who had spread the rumors, we were showing them our case against him and tearing down every friendship that Jake had throughout the organization. Some people, of course, stayed on his side, we simply blocked them, but most people saw Jake for the person he truly was, a jealous asshole who would see others in ruin for his own gain. He lost almost all the friends in the organization, and everyone shunned him. He ended up leaving not long after. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Revenge is Ice Cream, episode 189. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Before you go, if you could please hit the like button and share the video around with friends and family. That helps me make sure I can keep making videos in the future. It lets YouTube know that you like the video, and they will then show it to more people. Okay, let's see, moving on let's go straight to Hellfreezer's question of the day. And today's question is there a piece of classic art like the world-famous things like the Mona Lisa, the Sunflowers by Van Gogh, and so on, that you yourself would like to have in your own home? Personally, Van Gogh, Van Gogh, I quite enjoy his art style, however you want to say it. And anything by him would probably be nice. Maybe one of his self-portraits, because those always look very nice. A very striking figure, I think. Probably hang it on the wall in the hallway. Maybe you have other ideas. Maybe you have more interesting ideas. Actually, there's one more. There was a sketch of butterflies by Andy Warhol. I think it was before he was like the man, the myth, the legend of Andy Warhol, back in the days when he was still doing like shoe illustrations for magazines. I think this was right about that period. It's a very beautiful thing of just different butterflies. It's very nice. I'll probably buy a print of it at one point, but it would be nice to own the original. Let me know what some of your favorites are and which ones you would like to have in a comment below. And with that, I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourself.